Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Ask the Broncolor Assistant. This is our session 12 for our Broncolor Assistance program. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If this is your multiple time joining us, welcome back. We appreciate every time that you come and join us. Today, we are going to be talking about the second part of our Broncolor Assistance training, covering Monolights and the RFS remote system. But before we do that, and before we introduce our guest for the day, I want to let everyone know that we actually have a very special event that's going to be coming up a little bit later this fall. If you are a Broncolor photographer and are used to seeing Mr. Urs Recker, we are actually going to be bringing Urs over in here to the United States for a 6-city tour: LA, San Francisco, Salt Lake City, Atlanta, Chicago, and New York City. If you take a look at the sticky in the chat up in the corner of your screen there, it's a nice little link that will take you to the page that'll give you a little bit more information. Ticket sales should be going on sale soon, but if you want to get some more information in the meantime, go ahead and check out that page. So as always, follow, subscribe to Broncolor USA across all of the things. We are going to be covering a lot of information again today like we have in the past. So it's going to be great to be able to come back and watch these old videos and go from there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce everybody once again to Francis Westfield. Francis is a longtime photo assistant and digital technician to many legendary New York City-based photographers. Francis estimates he's been on over 4,000 pro shoot days over his last 40 years in the industry. Now, as Broncolor's technical sales manager here in the U.S., he likes to offer many years of on-set experience to offer quality products and solutions to pro photographers and their studios. So, Francis, welcome. Thanks for joining us today. I know we were having a little bit of technical difficulties earlier. Francis should be with us here. There we go. Francis, can you hear us? Okay, so it looks like we are still having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll go ahead and we will roll on with our program today. We're going to be playing part 2 of our assistance training video and have a bit of Q&A afterwards. So give us just a moment here and we'll transition to that video.
Let's talk about the Cirrus Monolights from Broncolor. So the Siros S and the Cirrus L Monolights come in 2 different sizes. There's a 400 and an 800 in both the S and the L. The S means studio and the L stands for location, or actually lithium-ion battery. Essentially, there's not much of a difference between the S and the L, except for a couple of minor things that I'll point out. But the L works on a battery, and the S works on your main power supply. The 400 model S is not high sync, or HS, where the 800S, the 800L, and the 400L are all high sync models, and you can work with them in high sync using one of the Broncolor RFS 2.2 remotes. Okay, so everything controlled on the Siros is from the back here on this main power button. When you press this, you're going to have the ability to go in your menu through the menus right here on this half circle down here. While this is blinking, you have the ability to activate that. When it stops blinking, I'll go back out of it and I'll go back to the first menu, which is the speed button. So this has a speed switch you can turn on or off. I'm not going to work with that right now, but they are Wi-Fi enabled, and I'm going to go to the Wi-Fi and actually turn it off. And my Wi-Fi signal goes off. I'll turn it back on. Yep, I blew that. And I'll turn it on right there. So the Wi-Fi signal will turn blue, and the Wi-Fi card in here is going to give me a Wi-Fi signal that with my Broncontrol app, I'm going to actually connect with. Then the main control is the power output, excuse me, that when you turn these in a single click, it will go in 1/10 stop increments. If you spin fully, it'll go in 1 full stop increments. And again, this is an 800 watt second device that I'm working with right now. And you go down from a power level 2 down up to 10. Okay, and any or in between. Okay. The flash duration on these can go up to 1/8000th of a second. Okay, so let's go through the menu on here. Using the large control knob here, you press it in, and the first one you're going to see is speed. As this ring is flashing, you come down to Wi-Fi. We have it on already. HS, I'm not going to use that right now. And this is my studio address. And then if I come over here to lamp, the lamp address is number 3 right now. Sequence I can turn on. Beep, self-explanatory. And then the sync, which is on RF right now, indicated by this small indicator light right now. And then it resets itself. It shows me that I'm on power level 10. Anytime you're not in the menu down here, you turn the same control wheel and you will be lowering or raising your power. Full stop increments if you spin it fast, down to level 2, and spin it slowly, you're going in 1/10 stop increments. Okay, test button here, and this is your modeling light. The only difference on the S and the L is there's an eco switch because this is a battery operated unit. The eco switch will keep the battery cooler. It will recharge slower, and it'll give you some more, a few extra flashes out of the battery itself. When you turn that on, I'll use this light to turn it on in just a second because this is facing down into the table. I don't want to do that. It is an LED model light in the L unit, the battery operated unit, and there's a halogen model light in the S unit. The S does not have an eco mode because it is not a battery operated unit, but the S does have the proportionality switch on the model light that when you adjust the power, you can have your proportions adjust accordingly. So that's just basically the differences on that. But essentially they are the same unit. So I'd like to point out that the Cirrus unit has an exposed flash tube. It has the same bayonet mount as the other reflectors in Broncolor. And this is the exposed flash tube with this cover glass. And this is great when you use it in a power or something like that where you need an exposed flash tube. Okay. And then this is the battery, which just comes out like this. 220 full flashes on this at power level 10 on this fully charged battery. It's 800 watt seconds. I like to say it's a little bit more unofficially. It really does put out a lot of power. And so this is the model light here. And actually, I'll turn it on first. The switch is on under here. This is the Wi-Fi indicator. It's syncing. Okay, I'll turn on my model light. Go here. This model light will turn off after 5 minutes. And I could also put it into eco mode by pressing and holding down. The eco mode will just keep the battery cooler and let it flash a little bit more, but it will be a slower recharge, so keep that in mind. Okay. So let me turn the sequence on here by pressing that, coming over to sequence, pressing the button in. Now it's flashing, and I'm going to pick 20 sequences, press it to activate it, and at this power level, pressing 10, my sequence will go off. Sequence can also be controlled through the Broncolor app. However, you can add an interval or a delay through the app itself, something you can't do on this except turn the sequence on. That's one thing just to consider. So using the Broncolor app, there's a lot of advantages to it with this. Whatever you can't basically see here can be added onto the Bron control. You can also activate the free mask feature and delay interval. So I'd like to show you that the Cirrus lights have what's called cognition lights. These two acrylic windows right here will glow a certain color when you activate the lamp address. Right now, the lamp address is 1, it's blue, but if I were to change the lamp address, 2 is green, 3 is purple, 4 is green, then 6 goes back to blue, green again, yellow, and so forth. And there's 5 different colors that are used for the cognition lights. They're simply a visual representation that in your studio you could visually look at those lights and see if you had 3 green lights or 3 lights marked with cognition lights, that could be your one group. And then on the other side you could have a different color and a different number, and that could be another group that you can be just visually recognize. So it comes in handy. They're actually kind of neat. So if you need to reset this, this Monolight back to its factory settings, you very simply hold down the test button for 4 seconds. It'll go back to power level 2, the Wi-Fi has come off, and you're back to factory resettings, and you're back to factory settings, and I would check that my studio address is back to number 1 now, and my lamp is number 1, and my Wi-Fi is off. I'll turn my Wi-Fi on right there, and my Wi-Fi will go to a blue symbol, and that means my Wi-Fi card is active in the unit itself. We've been talking a lot about the Scoro packs, the Move pack, the strobes. Let's talk about something a little different from Broncolor, and that's their LED light. And we call it the Broncolor LED F160. It is a compact LED that's got some features like the pulso light. It's a compact design, and I'm going to show it to you because it's really cool. I like to take the reflector off, and that's the same type of bayonet mount reflector that are on the other Broncolor heads. That's the LED under there by the covered by this plexi dome, acrylic dome, excuse me. And then it has a focusing control that brings the LED light source in and out. So when you use this with, let's say, a hard metal reflector, it can spot or flood accordingly. And we really think this is a very cool little feature. A lot of other neat little features on this light. I'm going to put back the reflector. I'm going to actually, oh, that's one. It just kind of showed you by accident. You can actually have the menu turned upside down. So if this light was up high and in a position where you needed that menu to reorient itself, it could do that. So I'll put it back and I'll leave it like that. So I'm actually going to go through the menu and show you some things on this. There's the on-off button. This gives you a daylight of 5600 or a tungsten of 3200. And I'll just demonstrate that by actually going in, changing the Kelvin up to its highest of 6800. But then I have this quick switch here, which will bring it down to 5500. Or 32K, back to 5500, or just go in between as you wish, from 2800 up to 6800 on the Kelvin. I hope I'm not going too fast on that. And then where you want it, you just activate it by pushing the button in, and you're good to go. Okay, so let's back up here for a second and show you that when the unit is on, you have a power level control right here. And you can go down from a level of 6 up to the highest level of 10. Okay. There is also a way to go in percentages of power. We can go through that. Let's go to the main menu. And I'll show you some things. So you could do, that's where the f-stops are concerned, or you can go into percentage. So 100% down to 6%. I rather like that. Set it where it is. Let's go back to the menu. So like the Cirrus, this has cognition lights that are used with Bron control. And if I were to go down and change my lamp address, my cognition lights would change the 5 different cognition light colors. Okay. And then it's got Wi-Fi. And you can change your studio address here. Okay. So I'm on Bron Studio 3 right now. Okay. And then just some other things in the menu that you really need to worry about at this point. A very nice little light, constant source LED. It's super clean. It's got a really high rating, CRI rating of 98 plus, which is very high. And I've had really good feedback from museums and galleries that are using these lights, where color accuracy is very, very important. One other little thing I'd like to point out is that there is a green magenta shift adjuster in here towards the green or towards magenta right now. And I'll just zero it out at this point. So in addition to plugging this into the main power of the on your studio wall, you can actually get what's called a versatility kit with this, and that'll give you a battery option to bring this on location. It's a V-mount battery, like in many cinema applications used today, and there is also a DMX controlling unit that you can get as an accessory to actually operate this through DMX. So let's talk about the radio remotes that we have with Broncolor. The RFS 2.1, the universal remote, and the RFS 2.2 remotes. The reason I have 4 of them out here is they are camera specific. The 2.2 remotes come in C, F, N, and S, and that's for Canon, Nikon, Sony, or Fuji. The advantage of using one of these remotes is that on a Cirrus Monolight or the Move Pack, which has the HS feature, you'll need one of these remotes to work with that properly. That'll trigger the HS feature. The 2.1 is the universal remote. I'm going to show you actually first on this how to change the studio address. This pack has a studio address of 1 right now. This remote is set on 99. I'm going to press the set button so the ST blinks. Do it one more time. And then I'm going to go to Studio 1 and I'm going to press it, and you'll see it will sync through. And now I'm synced with this pack on Studio 1. Okay? Another thing you can do on this is if you hold the test button down, the Monolight will go on and off. Okay? I can also change the power when I'm in the studio address just by clicking once for 1/10 stop increments or holding down for full stop increments. And as I showed you before, the pack is now dissipating that power, and I can test fire it at a lower power. So nice little feature. You can even go into the lamp addresses, and if I had a specific lamp address on this, I could actually change the power on just that lamp address. If, say, let's say channel 2 was on lamp address 4, and I changed that, I could change the power just on that lamp address 4. So I'm going to skip that for now, but that's a nice little feature that you can do on this. So I'll put that down. So this is the RFS 2.2 Sony remote. I've actually preset my pack for Studio 3, and right now I'm set for Studio 3, right up there by that indicator. and I should be able to test fire this, and it works. My model light switch right here can turn the model light on or off. Okay, I'll leave it on. And there's an on and off switch for this. There is no on-off switch for this one, but the battery will turn off after a certain time. Now, there's an HS switch right here, or button, and this is where you turn the HS on or off. Once you have it into on, you press that to set it, and now you're in your HS mode. This pack does not have HS, so it's not really going to do me any good right now, but I just wanted to show you how to set it. And if you hold it down, the HSMA value, that's the high sync manual adjustment, can come up. And if you needed to, you can actually trim the triggering to match the strobe if you needed to do a little bit of adjustment on that. So that exists there.
All right, and welcome back, everyone. I know that we kind of covered a lot of information there during that process, but we are definitely here to ask and answer any questions. Francis, are you able to hear me now, or are we able to get you in good to go? Looks like we might still be having some technical difficulties there, but let's see what we can do to get everything figured out as we're going along. During the video, we did have one question which came up from James Ferguson on these Cirrus units. Is that a physical knob or a digital touch knob? It actually is a physical knob. So if you've never had a chance to get your hands on one, I definitely would highly recommend that and give that a shot. So it is a physical knob. And I guess while we're still getting a couple of pieces here and there, are there any other questions that we have that we had come up during the chat here? Looks like Aaron in the chat asks, is there a way to create groups on the app? For example, if I have two 400Ss that I would like to use as background lights, but have them on a single group. Yes, you do have the ability to add those into groups. I would suggest, I believe 2 webinars ago, we had a webinar about the Broncolor app, and those should actually be up on our YouTube page now. So Aaron, I would recommend taking a look at those on YouTube for a little bit more information. And it looks like Francis, are we back now? Can you hear me this time?
Yes, I can, Blake. Sorry about that.
No worries. These things do happen. So let's see. I guess in this case, since you are sort of our resident Broncolor expert, do you want to go over the previous question we asked? There was some questions about creating groups so that lights can be fired at the same time.
I only heard part of that, Blake. Just repeat the crux of the question again, please.
Just going over Broncolor and creating groups so that multiple lights can fire at the same time.
You set your lamp addresses to whatever actual lights you want to be on. Let's say I had four Cirrus or even Scorio lights on my background, and I had a left and a right light at my subject, and let's say one main light on the subject as well. I could set the main light on lamp address number 1, let's say. I could put the 2 side lights on lamp address number 2, and I would put the background lights on 3. And yes, they'd all fire at the same time, but if you wanted to go in and test those through the Broncolor app, you could definitely fire off just those lights if you'd like, or if you needed to do readings or not separately on those. or you could adjust them as groups in the Bron Control app by either group 1, group 2, or group 3. I hope that that helps.
Wonderful. And as I mentioned previously, like I said, we did a webinar a few months back that actually went into things in a little bit more detail. So definitely give a chance to check that out. Greg in the chat asked, for the LED F160, is there a rated metered output, say F8 at 10 feet with a P70? I realize the focusing position will vary.
I'd have to check the chart on that, Blake. Do you have that in front of you?
I would need to look it up as well. Greg, probably the best thing to do, if you can send us an email, we would be happy to follow back up with you and get you some more information as to that rated output.
And the answer is yes to his last question about the focus position will impact the exposure. It will increase or decrease it. Yes.
Okay. Here we go. It looks like another question from the chat. Can you add another transmitter from another maker on top of the 2.2 transmitter to trigger speed lights without harm to either transmitter?
I've seen it work before. I've also seen people have issues with it. So it's one of those, based on another third-party product, it's hard for us to guarantee that.
Yes, and I can add to that. I have personally done some experimentation with using multiple triggers in that way. Because the top of the RFS 2.2 is just a standard hot shoe, it's not transmitting any sort of TTL or any sort of data of that nature. So it will just fire whatever you have placed on top. But of course, you're not going to be able to control anything from the 2.2 transmitter itself. Okay. And it looks like we're going through everything here. Are there any other questions? I know that we are wrapping up a little bit early today, but if there are not any further questions, we can go from there, and I will get you on and having a wonderful rest of your afternoon. While we're waiting for those last minute questions, once again, please, if you have not already, make sure that you do follow us, like, follow, share, subscribe, Broncolor USA on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, across all the things. And if you have not done so already, please make sure to take a look at the ERS Masterclass tour information. That tour is going to be real fun and real exciting for those 6 cities later this fall. And we definitely want to see you there. So please check that out.
Blake, should we tell them the cities again?
Yes, those cities, once again, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Salt Lake City, Atlanta, Chicago, and New York City. All right. And I guess looks like we've got one other question that we can probably answer here. There wouldn't be any issues using a 2.1 on a body and a 2.2. I'm assuming that's going to be graphite based on what I can see there. Oh, and did we lose Francis? Francis, are you still there? Looks like we may have lost there the wonders of live production over the internet here. So what I will do, Eris, please again send us an email on that one, and I will do some more research and see what we can do to answer. So without further ado, thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. Sorry that things have been a little bit fun and a little bit interesting due to our technical difficulties, but we are certainly here to answer all your questions. So thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.